Welcome, everybody, to the Vermont press conference with our student athletes. Remind everyone here, please mute your cell phone. You cannot stream this by your phone. You cannot take video with your phone. Anyone joining on Zoom, use the raised hand. Anyone in the room, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone if you have a question. Obviously, if you want all of the student athletes to answer, you can address it that way. If you have individuals you would like to answer, do that as well. That gives our cameras time to set up as well. So welcome to Raleigh in the NCAA Tournament. If anybody has a question, we will start our press conference with the student athletes from Vermont. And if you don't have questions, I have questions. Anybody? Yes, sir, right here to the right. Identify yourself, if you would, please, and your affiliation.
Okay. Jack Fitzsimmons with WCX in Burlington. We'll start with Kat. You guys have had a couple of days down here in North Carolina to kind of get adjusted, starting to see what it looks like in the facility. Is it really kind of hit you that you guys are having this opportunity again to play in the NCAA tournament, and how do you kind of try and manage the emotions?
Yeah, I think it's been starting to hit more today. You know, we get here, see the facilities, and just seeing all the other teams and just the whole experience. I think it's all coming together, and we're just super grateful to be here, and we're really looking forward to it.
Next question. Go ahead.
All right, we'll keep it going. Anna, obviously, during the conference tournament, other teams, at least in the first couple of rounds, made a point of trying to take away you offensively, and obviously that opened up opportunities for a lot of your teammates. Do you feel like that's going to be something that NC State's looking to do as well, and how do you try and counter that?
I guess I can't really predict what they're going to do. Obviously, they have a lot of height in the post, and so I'm not expecting the defense like we had in the conference tournament. But I think we do a really good job at adjusting on the fly and seeing, you know, what the defense is giving us. And I think obviously in the first quarter will be a good time to, you know, tell what they're taking away and what they're giving us, and we'll read off of that.
Got a question for all three of you. You obviously are going to play in the home gym of NC State, but you just came off a situation where you played in the home gym to win your conference championship. How do you try to make things turn in your favor playing basically in an opponent's gym? Bella, let's start with you.
I think playing in Albany and winning there gave us momentum because earlier in the season we hadn't done a great job playing in away stadiums. We play a lot better at Patrick, so I think we're just going to build off that momentum of winning in an opponent's gym, try to do the same here.
Anna?
I think when we went into Albany, we had the mindset like we're going to treat it like we're in Patrick Gym because obviously we play much better at home. And I think that mindset really like carried us far. We attacked it, we played with confidence, we were taking shots that we'd taken Patrick. And so we're going to do the same thing here and just pretend like we're back home.
Catherine?
Yeah, I just kind of echo what they just said. On top of that, just kind of finding the energy from within our team and not relying on, like, one reason why we play so well at Patrick is because we have amazing fans. And we did a really good job at Albany of, like, creating our own energy and feeding off of one another rather than relying on the fans. We also had amazing fans that traveled to Albany, but I think that's going to be super important for tomorrow's game.
Anybody in the audience? Yes.
Bella, you guys all mentioned kind of trying to make it feel more like home. What are some things specifically that you guys have tried to do? Is there like a specific meal that you have usually ahead of a home game that you're trying to continue down here? Is there something that you can do from a routine perspective to kind of try and make it seem as much like home as possible?
Yeah, we have our 2-day prep. Everyone has their routines, like everything they do, the little things. So we were just told, like, pretend like it's a home game, do your routines, do all the little things that you usually do when we're back at home to make it feel more like a home game.
Bella, you already mentioned earlier kind of the rough start you guys had. I think it was 5-10, but what has allowed you to turn things around where you've won 16 of your last 18? I'll ask all of you that if you could reply, but Bella, let's start with you.
Yeah, I just think we were at a low and we came together as a team, and I think the turning point was really just starting to believe in ourselves. We knew all along that we had a special group. It was just when it started to really click and we came together as one, we're like, we're going to do this thing, and we started to believe in ourselves and play more like with confidence and trust in one another.
Anna?
Yeah, I think after our first conference game when we lost against Albany, I think Bella came and talked to the team and was like, basically had the mindset like we have to have no regrets. We have a lot of people on this team who it's like this is their last year, and so we kind of had to approach the season like no regrets. Like if we're gonna go out there and lose, we're gonna go out hard and lose. You know, it's not like we're gonna not give it our all. And so I think that really changed the mindset, and then that's when we all started to really flow and gel together.
Catherine?
Yeah, I think like Anna and Belle said that, after the Albany game, like halfway through the season, we kind of had a gut check, like what kind of team we wanted to be, and we came together as a team. Like Anna mentioned, Bella talked to the team, and we kind of all just came onto this conclusion that we want to, where we want to be, and we weren't at that point in the season. So we always knew we had a lot of talent. Like Belle said, we were a special group, but it was kind of just figuring out how to, put all of our mindsets together and all work towards the same goal and learn how to play our best basketball together. And I think obviously we did that, and everyone was bought in, and it took us a little while to get there, but we figured it out.
I get to ask another one. Defensive mindset. You guys are third best in the country, only giving up 52 points per game. What is it about that? Is it a mindset? Is it a scheme? Is it a physical talent? What is it about it that makes your defense so tough? Catherine, we'll start with you and come on down this way.
I think defense is always something that Coach Kress talks about, harps on from day one. If you don't play defense, you're not going to play in our program. And I think one thing about our team is we're not always the most athletic and the biggest team, but we always work really hard on defense, and we know our principles, and we know that we're going to have each other's backs. And so we don't have to be the most athletic when we're smart and we know exactly what our rules are and how to play defense together. And I think that's how we've been so successful on defense.
Anna?
Yeah, I think also we start every single practice with the defensive drill, and I think that really sets a tone. Like, if we're going to win a game, we're going to do a bad defense. And I think we've won a lot of games because of our defense. And I think, the big thing is, like, we play such good team defense. We rely on each other. Like, if somebody gets to be, like, in your back of your mind, like, somebody's going to be there to help you. And I think, like, playing out there lets you play a little more, like, fearless. Like, you can go close out harder, and you can, go do things harder because your teammate has your back.
Conference Defensive Player of the Year, Bella?
Defense wins championships, and I think we all got here, and we are under Kress, who that's her motto. So I think the rules and principles that she's engraved in the program, and we all follow them and know them to a T, has allowed us to just work as like a one unit, and someone slips up, like someone has their back. And I think just our rules and principles have made us get this far in our defense.
Yes, sir. Back left over here. Wait for the microphone, please.
I'm Julian. I'm from the Globe, not too far away. How you doing? Would you guys have considered yourselves defensive players before you got to Vermont, and then how much of that was once you got to the program, either, like you said, play defense or don't play, and also just kind of getting that ingrained in you over time?
Oh, let's start with Bella.
I've always loved defense, and that's a big reason I picked Vermont. But I think getting here, it took it to a completely different level. I was just a defender, and then learning the rules and principles that this program teaches has brought my defensive capabilities to a completely different level.
Down the line, Anna.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think before I came here, I definitely did focus on defense, but it was more individuals, like more what can I do out there, how much can I, like fight with these big post players in the AU tournaments. But now my mindset's really changed where it's like I'm doing the same thing, but now it's more of team defense. And so I think that aspect of defense has really changed for me.
Catherine.
Yeah, I think I was lucky enough to come from a program in high school that also focused heavily on defense. So I think it wasn't completely new to me. But like Belle said, I think, knowing our team principles, our rules, it just took it to a whole new level.
Follow up? Yes.
I'm just curious about this, too, because now, you can just open your phone and go on Instagram, and they're always going to show you a clip of the newest move to do, add more to your bag, double crossover, tween crossover. But you don't see clips of defensive principles, defensive just strategies, just approaches to guarding a player. And I was wondering, if you could, how would you even teach that to somebody, and how do you make that cool? Because getting stops wins games, because if you can't score, you can't win.
Start with you, Catherine.
That's a really good question. I think it's always going to be way easier to highlight the flashy offensive move than someone locking up on defense and getting a stop. And I think it's almost, take it to another level, it's way harder to highlight team defense and individual defense. Like I think sometimes you'll see clips of individuals really locking down on defense, and sometimes that'll get a shout out. But team defense, which is what Kress builds her whole program off of, is not always highlighted because it's way harder to see that when you're watching like throughout the flow of the game. So that's a tough question. I'm not sure exactly how I would highlight that or teach it, but I think just continuing to enforce the same principles and making sure that everyone's locked in on the same page is what I would say.
Anna?
Yeah, I really do think defense is a silent killer out there. I think like you really do have to experience it to really embrace it. And I think honestly, a big switch for me was our championship game 2 years ago against Albany. It was a really low scoring game. It was like 30s, and we won that game because of defense. And I think like experiencing that game, like we just won a championship because of our defense, is like really just like sparked it even more for our program to just keep building off of that.
Bella?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to show all the flashy moves on offense, but it's harder to get someone to really, really want to buy in on defense. So to get to a program that really does that, and like Kat said, you don't play unless you play defense, it makes you appreciate the sport, I think, and the defensive side of the sport, because you win when you get stops, and those stops lead to offense.
That's fine.
This only makes me chuckle because this had nothing to do with your particular game, but I was watching a Harvard-Columbia game a couple weeks ago, and it was like, I don't know, 18-12 in the second quarter. It was like it was turnovers galore, and they were having a hard time. And somebody was like, oh, this is an ugly game. And I was like, I think you guys are missing the point. I think both teams really like what's happening on the floor right now. So I was wondering if there was a game, like you said, like the one 2 years ago, where you were like, no, this might not be pretty. There might not be balls going in the basket, but this is exactly the game we want to play, you know?
Anybody want to address that? Go ahead.
I can't think of specific games besides that Albany championship game 2 years ago definitely stands out. But I think there's been a ton of games where we haven't shot the ball the best. You know, offensively we didn't have our best game, but we still won because the other team, they weren't able to score just because of our defense. So I think we've had a ton of games like that. I can't think of any specifically if you guys can, but definitely we've done that.
Anna? Any?
I think there's a lot of games and where shots aren't falling. It's going to happen. It's part of the sport. So when shots aren't falling, you have to rely on your defense. And I think that's where some teams get in trouble when they don't have a huge defense, and it puts a lot more pressure on their offense. So I think we get to go out there and we know our defenses are stable, so it kind of gives us a little less pressure on offense. But I can't think of a specific. I think it's been an all-season kind of thing.
Yes, sir. To the right?
Kind of a similar game way back, ancient history at this point, but the last time UVM women's basketball came down and played in this building, 2009, that team was able to win here 52-47, so similar type of game there. Was just wondering if any of you had any opportunity, had heard from any of the members maybe of that team, maybe kind of some other Catamount groups, just about what it means to be able to see you guys back on the stage.
Bella, we'll start with you.
I have personally not, but
I haven't heard anything either, but we have received a lot of their support. I mean, I see their comments, you know, on social media. They're really rooting for us, and so we can feel their love from far away.
Catherine?
Yeah, I also haven't heard anything specifically from that team, but I think just the support that we receive in our community is amazing. And I know so many people have reached out, and you know, just businesses, organizations have reached out, and so we definitely feel the love and the support from Vermont. So.
Time for a few more. Yes, back right room. Back.
Hi guys, Pete Estes, UVM Athletics. Kat, this is for you as a Vermonter. What does it mean for you to get back here, playing for your home team on the biggest stage in college basketball?
Yeah, it means the world to me. Honestly, it just means the world to me to play for this team with these teammates and my amazing coaches, and just being able to have this opportunity and win the America East and get to play on the big stage. It's been a dream of mine, and now I get to do it twice, which really means the world to me. I can't even explain it. So I love Vermont, and I love the Vermont community, and just wouldn't change a thing.
This is the second time in 3 years that you've made the tournament. How has that experience helped you? It's such a goal at the beginning of the year to get to the tournament, and you guys have done that before. Is there anything you can draw from that that will help you when you tip it off against NC State? And Catherine, we'll start with you.
I think it definitely helps that we have that experience from 2 years ago. I think we're obviously still going to have, you know, butterflies. We're still going to get nervous because, like, you know, we all know this is the biggest stage in women's college basketball, and I think those nerves are obviously still going to be there, but because we had that experience 2 years ago, it won't be as much of a shock for some of us, and I think we can just kind of use that as a little confidence boost going to this game, and just go play Vermont basketball.
Anna?
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously being here 2 years ago has really helped with the nerves, because we kind of like know what we're expecting. Obviously, we're still gonna have the butterflies, but you know, we kind of know what we're walking into. And I also do think our non-conference schedule, we played a lot of big teams too, and I think that experience has also helped in this moment, like that we can approach this game like any other game. Like we don't need to be scared. So.
Bella?
Yeah, I think being here 2 years ago and then last year making it pretty far into the WNIT, playing bigger teams, we know what to expect and we're ready for it. And yeah, we're going to have the butterflies, but it's not going to be like a shell shock. Like, we've been here and we're ready for it.
Any other questions? If not, we appreciate your time. Bella, Anna, Catherine, good luck and welcome back to the NCAA tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Never gets old.
No, no. We now welcome in head coach of Vermont, Elisa Kresge, who is in her 7th season. And this is kind of not new territory for you guys, and I'll just open things up. As I just closed with your student athletes, how does it help, having been in this seat before, having been in an environment before that is NCAA postseason play?
I do think, obviously, our recent history of being here 2 years ago has really helped us. The vibe is a little different this time. I do think when we got to UConn, it had been a long time for Vermont women's basketball to be on that stage, and no player that was on that team has ever been to that level. And so I do feel like that there was a moment like, this is just awesome to be here. Obviously, this is a really talented NC State team on their home court, but I do think there's a demeanor of we want to show everyone what we're made of mentality right now, and I think that's what shifted in our season, and that's why we're at this point. So I do think, one, being in the tournament 2 years ago and having most of our top players that are playing most of our minutes experience that, but also the success that we've had, whether it was just in a quarter or on the road at a Purdue, experiencing that, I think, helps us in these situations.
Questions from the room? Yes, sir. To the right.
Jack Fitzsimmons with WCX in Burlington again. Coach Kresge, I think I asked you a similar question 2 years ago, but as a player, being able to go into a road environment, win a couple of NCAA tournament games, and advance to the Sweet 16, how much has that experience kind of helped you in your career kind of going forward as a coach? And how do you kind of try and convey, I don't know, the attitude, the mentality that your Marist team had to this group, that it's possible that you can go in and beat some of these really good teams in their home arenas? Yeah,
this time of year, we obviously had a couple extra days to start preparing for NC State, so it gives you a time to reflect. And I took that time kind of talking to teammates and watching some old film and just trying to really remember what that feeling was like and how we had those moments and what we made of those moments. And so I did share some of those thoughts that I had with our players, but it was really just echoing what their mentality has been, and that has been the group that has been fearless and confident. That's been the Vermont team that we've seen on the back end of the season versus the front end of the season. We weren't really sure who we were and what we were made of. And so really it was just reminding them of what they already had. And that's what I felt like was the special sauce for those Marist teams that made some noise. They really believed in each other. It was an absolute team effort. But they were fearless, and that wasn't cocky. It was just they believed in who they were, and they were going to give it all. And I feel like you see a lot of that in this group, which is really exciting.
Follow up.
And obviously, I asked you a couple days ago about Reynolds, and you just hadn't had the opportunity to come in here before. Now that you've had the opportunity to walk into this building, see kind of some of the banners, see the floors from the Final Fours, there's the Jim Valvano National Championship Trophy and stuff, has it kind of hit you just how special a place this is that you guys have the opportunity to play?
Oh, it's incredible. I've obviously known about the history, but I've never stepped in this building, and it's a really cool feeling. Just awesome. I mean, it's an incredible place. Obviously, men's basketball has been incredible here, but women's basketball has been incredible. And so I'm just fortunate to be in this opportunity in a place that cares about women's basketball and has done an incredible job. So it's an awesome opportunity. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and we're really excited to be playing in a historical building with a lot of great basketball that has been played here before us.
There's a uniqueness of you guys playing your conference tournament on sites. How much did that prepare you to come into play NC State in their home gym, that you just beat Albany in their home gym to win your conference championship?
Yeah, I think, being at Albany, we were clearly a road team. That being said, Catamount Country really traveled, so that was great. But you can feel that energy at times, and there was moments in those games where the building was about to erupt because they were making their run. And I thought our players handled that with a lot of poise. And so I'm hopeful that those kind of moments and that growth that we've seen in the back end of this season is going to help us in moments when NC State makes us a run, and how we stay poised and how we control what we can control. I think those moments are going to be very valuable in this game.
Questions from the room? Yes, sir. Over here to the left.
Hi, I'm Julian. I'm from the Globe. Your players are just in here talking about how important defense is to you, to the point that if you don't play, or if you don't play defense, you don't play. One, I was wondering, how do you sort of establish that as a culture? But also just like, how do you teach it in a culture where, you can go on Instagram and learn every move in 2 seconds and become, have the biggest bag ever. But I was wondering if you had interesting ways to just say, like, hey, no, this is how you guard a pick and roll, this is how you help, this is how you know what I mean? Like, how do you make that more interesting, I guess?
Yeah, it is part of the recruiting process. We're very transparent. And some think they like defense until they get from Vermont, and then they really realize how hard it is. There's a lot of hard work. You have to be 2 feet in the circle. But I do think, the recruiting process is a big key. You're not shocked when I tell you, well, if you can't defend, you're not going to play. We talked about that already. But then it's just instilling it every single day. My coaching staff is amazing. It is nonstop teaching and coaching. They don't make a mistake in practice without somebody talking to them about it and fixing it. So I think it's just instilling it every single day, over and over. We'll make mistakes that we've talked about for 5 years, some of them, but they're still going to hear about it. And so it's just constantly coaching them. And they shared it, but we start every practice with a defensive drill to set the tone. We do like offense, though, so I know it sounds like we only like defense, but we do like offense, too. And I do think they see that our defense has created a lot of good offense. So now you're tying in the fun of the game, right, is that everyone wants to go put up points, but they see, like, oh, we can play and you can get out in transition, which everyone loves. And so you do that, you can do some of the fun stuff. So I think they're seeing the reward of what defense can bring, and then obviously the big picture is winning games and winning championships.
Most kids are shooting in their backyard. I don't know how many kids are doing defensive slides, but for you, when did defense become a part of your DNA?
Really, really early on. I've been very fortunate to play for a lot of great coaches, starting with my father, and he was a hardworking, in-your-face kind of player, and he instilled it in all his kids. And then every coach I played for moving forward, it just happened to be they all loved defense. So I've been really, really lucky and taught by different coaches, different philosophies, which has helped kind of get me to this point as a coach and believing in defense.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. And then Noah, you'll be next.
I'm sorry. I was just curious. This is just like a philosophical question, and I hate to compare. Is coaching defense harder than coaching offense sometimes? But just strategically, you know what I mean? Like, I know some people know like what a pin down is and what a dribble handoff is or whatever, right? But just conceptually, there's just so much too that goes into defense that might not just be able to be drawn up,
Yeah, it is that gray area, and we'll find a lot of first years come in our program, and it wants to be black and white, but there are times that, and that's a game of basketball, even on offense, is you got to live in that gray area and make plays on the defensive end. And so, it's like, don't strong side help, but it's a shooter that doesn't shoot at all, right? And you're like, but it's no strong side help, and it's the end of a shot clock, they can hit three, right? So it's that gray area. But I do think the film, the fact that we have every single practice filmed and they can watch it right then and there, every game is filmed, right? So our players, they spend a lot of time in film learning that stuff. And the biggest thing at the end of the day is I'm not asking them to be perfect on defense. It's effort. Give me your effort, and somebody else is going to have your back, and we're going to be okay. It comes down to that. It's hustle plays. It's effort. Of course, you got to know our philosophies, but if you give effort, usually something good's going to come of it.
Over here to the left, Noah.
Noah Fleischman from On3. Coach, what have you seen from NC State when you look at them on film, especially offensively? They can score pretty quickly.
Yes, very quickly. I was almost statting how fast they could score. They have outstanding guard play, and they want to play fast and loose, and they're having a lot of fun doing it. And I think they love and they thrive off of that one-on-one game, but they also can really find open people. So now when you really collapse or step uphill, like they're finding that. And so I do think that's something that's going to be really important is how can we limit their transition? How can we have to force them to share the ball for not layups? I do think that they're very, very talented, and they love to score. They love to score fast, and we're going to have to try to utilize some of our defense to slow down the game.
What's the challenge defensively to defend a team that is sometimes 1 in, 4 out, and sometimes 5 out?
Yeah, we really can't be put on an island, and I think they do an excellent job putting teams on islands and playing one-on-one and creating, whether it is for themselves going to get a bucket or finding that open person. And it's not a team you can just pack the paint either, because obviously they have a bunch of weapons that can shoot threes, and really 1 through 5, we'll take them. And so that's a little bit of the challenge, right, is, okay, they like to go one-on-one and get into the paint, but they don't have shooters. Okay, you can kind of game plan for that. But I think they do an incredible job of putting you on an island, and then when you try to pack it in, they kill you with threes. And they have a lot of weapons. I mean, they're incredible. They've done really well, and we're just going to try to make them take uncomfortable shots as best we can.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
More still basketball philosophy more than anything else. But you mentioned your players you have every practice recorded, which feels like a normal thing now, which I'm 40, which is crazy, but it wasn't when I wasn't 40. And I was wondering, do kids learn do players learn faster having that much film available than they had in the past, by your observation? And then maybe too also, do they think more because do they overthink more because they can literally analyze everything they see all the time? I'm not sure what the effects are.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think everyone, as coaches, that everybody is a little bit different. You don't coach every player the same way. And so I think it's the same with that. We have all these resources, and we talk to our players about picking and choosing the resources that help them the best. I will say in my time at UVM, with the extensive film work or the film access we have now, some of our best players watched every single practice. And before I even got home to watch it, they were watching it for a second time. And those were our best players doing it. And so, I think they thrived off of it. And it's a way to learn without just constantly repping and the pounding on their body. They can really learn a lot from it. But there's also players that we do sometimes, they overthink and then they get paralyzed. And so as coaches, we have to navigate with that with our players. We have a lot of meetings of discussing, okay, what helps you? What makes you tick? How are you motivated, right? We're the relationship piece. And so we don't force feed things. We just try to figure out what everybody needs, and then we give them what we need because we have all these different resources, but not everybody needs the same thing.
Anybody else in the room? I do have one final question. You guys, okay, you play Missouri, you play Minnesota, but you start the season 5-10. What has allowed you guys to turn it around where you've won 16 of 18? Was there an instance that you point to and say, this is when we started to turn it around?
Yeah, I think our players talked about it, but our defense was always there. So for me, the turning point was really figuring out offensively where our confidence lied and what we were trying to do. Early on, we were force-feeding the ball to Anna, rightfully so. She's been incredible for our program. But we had other weapons, and I think we didn't utilize those weapons, and sometimes it was self-inflicted, and people weren't taking shots that we know they're capable of taking. And so I think our offense has found a balance, and we have a lot of players that understand in order to win, you need to do your job on offense as well. So I think our defense, for the most part, was pretty consistent, especially that time of year. But I think the shift has really been in our offense and seeing players playing with that self-confidence. If anything, more times you heard in practice or in games, coaches and teammates telling each other, shoot the ball. And instead, now I feel like we're actually shooting the ball, and we don't have to tell each other to do that. So I think that has been our big shift, just that confidence in ourselves. We all believed in each other, so now we have to believe in ourselves as well.
Last opportunity. All right. That'll wrap things up. Coach Gretzky, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time, and welcome back to the NCAA tournament.
Thank you.